Welcome to Connecting with Corinne, the podcast where I help you find your community one story and connection at a time. I'm your host, Corinne, and each week I explore inspiring conversations that connect us to the world around us, spark new ideas, and help build stronger, more meaningful connections. Whether it's through personal stories, thought-provoking discussions, or shared experiences, we're here to bring diverse perspectives to the table. So let's dive in and start. All right, welcome to another episode with Connecting with Corinne, and I am here with Taara today. Hi, Taara, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks for
coming on.
Thank you for
So
having me.
I like to talk about how I know my guests first before we get into introducing a little bit more about yourself. So I met Taara a few years ago. It was pre-COVID, and my ex-husband and I now, we got into an open relationship at the end of our near the end of our marriage. And it was interesting because that's actually how I met you, was that you were offering with your partner, James, a bunch of different opportunities for people to get together and meet in a non-pressured way, which I loved. And it was just like a little social get together. And we would go to, I think at the time it was just mostly little clubs here and there in Calgary where we would just kind of meet up on an evening, like on a Thursday night, and then just meet up for drinks and just get to meet like-minded people, which I thought
Mhm.
was great because there was no pressures. It was just meeting people, no pressure about anything, and it was just a really relaxed atmosphere. And then I know at one point you did some tours of some of the clubs in Calgary, which I
Yes.
thought was pretty incredible too. So for those who are new to the lifestyle in the community, that they got to see the different types of clubs that Calgary has to offer, and then the different vibes of each club. And then people could kind of figure out what fits for them. So,
Yeah.
so I know you have done so much since then. You've
Yes.
been part of the Uninterrupted podcast. You've done some sex education and counseling now, right?
I got my certification as a somatic sex coach. Yeah. Took
Yeah.
3 years, all during COVID.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
then you also do sex ed in the modern bed.
Sex ed for the modern bed. Yeah, that's like my coaching business and where I do all the somatic coaching and body work.
Amazing. Tell a little bit about yourself so you can
Ooh.
explain to people all the things that you do and offer,
Do I start at the beginning?
wherever you want to start.
Okay. Well, I feel like it's important to name I've been in an open relationship with my husband for 12 years since the beginning of our relationship. And we were, mid 20s when we started exploring non-monogamy, and it was challenging back then. There wasn't many options for people to explore their sexuality. There was like these clubs or greasy websites, and we didn't really know what we were doing. And so once we like dipped our toes in, we thought like, why not start the thing that we want? And that's kind of where the monthly social took off. And we also started the podcast to just share our journey navigating an open relationship. And it really grew from there. Our social that had 4 people the first time quickly grew to like 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes 60 people attending. And the podcast grew too. And with that, people started reaching out and they're like, hey, can you coach? We have these questions. We want help, which I've always wanted to be a sex educator. Do you remember Sex with Sue from when we were
Yes.
younger? Yeah, she
Yes.
was such an idol of mine. I'm like, I want to do that when I grow up. So I'm like, this is the time. But one thing I noticed was a lack of being trauma informed and how to hold containers with integrity. And there's drama sometimes. There's drama between people who attend these socials. There's past traumas that come up. And so when COVID hit and we kind of took a pause with everything, I was like, this is a really good time to be trauma informed and go to school and get my certification as a sex educator. So that's kind of what I did. And it did change the direction of like my career a bit too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's kind of a perfect time because I think during COVID too, so much came up for people, even if you weren't even in the lifestyle, right? There's just so much trauma and things coming up, and all of a sudden it's like you're going to the store and people are just getting anxiety.
Right. Like our window of tolerances, our windows of capacity were definitely shrunk for a lot of people during that
Mhm.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Hmm.
think it's perfect that you're able to come go into that trauma because it's so interesting too because with this podcast, the whole idea isn't to be trauma based, but in a couple episodes now we talk about trauma and how we can empathize with it and then how do we move forward from that,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
which I think is amazing for people who are in relationships and going through open relationships and stuff like that to bring out some of those things that you don't necessarily think could be an issue.
Right. Yes. Especially when you're kind of like practicing a counter-normative way of approaching life, your sexuality, your relationship. There's less support systems available. This
Mhm.
society wants you to stay in this little like perfect box of what they deem okay. So there's less people to talk to about it. And yeah, a lot of times things come up from your past, your attachment patterns. I say an open relationship is an enhancement of your relationship, even if you're doing it solo. So if there's things you're really good at, like if you guys are great at communicating or you have really great, wicked, wild sex, you'll probably have more of that. But if you're really poor at communicating or you have some attachment styles that maybe you haven't navigated or worked through, those are going to be enhanced too, unfortunately.
Yes, and I think speaking from experience with my ex-husband, it was the latter, not the former, unfortunately. But I think it was also good for us because it showed us the lack of communication or the type of communication that we actually needed and
Hmm.
that we were lacking. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's talk about just open relationships and the stigma. So, what do we consider an open relationship? I know the words like polyamory come out, you get the swingers, right? Like the slang. So, can you just tell people a little bit, maybe what is an open relationship? Maybe some ideas that people may think that are maybe a misconception?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think open relationship is just a blanket term that a lot of people use to say that they don't practice strict monogamy. And for some people, it can mean being solo poly, not having a primary relationship or partner, and having lots of different people. It could mean swinger, which typically it's more just about sex. There's not much about like the connection and emotional vulnerability. So yeah, that's kind of like the blanket term, I would say. As
Mhm.
for misconceptions, I think a lot of people feel like if they're not in an open relationship currently, probably feel like it looks a certain way or it has to look a certain way. Like it's a couple and a couple and they swap and that's it. And that's what it looks like. But really, it can look any way that feels comfortable and sexy for your relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. For couples exploring this, like, why would they think an open relationship would be a good idea? Or how do some couples get into this? Is this like a way to solve their marriage? Or
Hopefully not. I feel like if you're using non-monogamy as a way to like solve your marriage, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Mhm.
Yeah, because there's usually some underlining things that, there it could be a difference in desire or sex drive or libido. Usually there's some things going on that probably need to be dived into first. Like, why is there a discrepancy in each other's desire? What's the reason for that? Yeah, I feel like a more aligned way of non-monogamy is like noticing that it's a curiosity for both of you and having a little bit of a plan, not just kind of like a lot of people dive headfirst into it, which sometimes works out, but oftentimes like knowing what's your why, like why do you want to do this? Is it because you're queer and you want to explore other genders? Is it because you have a fantasy of being with two men at once, or exploring what group sex is? Or do you just want to be able to go to like events and resorts where you can be nude and have sex in front of other people? Maybe you're like a voyeur. Maybe you like to watch. Like, whatever it is, it's figuring out what your why is and kind of
Mhm.
starting there and just having some really good conversations and check-ins about the limits, the boundaries, your desires, things you want to experience, things that you're not available for, and really being open to changing those too. I mean, when we first started, we had like a no kissing rule. We were, and I'm like, oh my God, looking back, I'm like, I love making out with people. So being open to knowing that those things are going to change too as you learn more about yourselves, your relationship, feel more confident and comfortable. Yeah.
And how do you have those conversations with your partner about what it is that you want, or even changing the fact that like you went from the no kissing rule to the kissing rule without too much judgment or pushback?
Well, I'm a strong advocate of having regular check-ins in your relationship, regardless if you're open or not. Like my husband and I, every first week of the month, we have these set of questions that range from financial to career to sexual to relationship. And it takes maybe 40 minutes to do all of it. And we just do a check in about the last month and about what we might want for this month. So I think having those are a great way to kind of navigate if you're noticing that something needs to be changed, or noticing like, ooh, I didn't like when that happened. And maybe we can talk about how we might navigate that next time. Or I'm noticing I really want to be kissing people. And so, how do you feel about that? And also recognizing that we each have our own domain for our own bodies that we have a right and responsibility for. And sometimes that means that when we speak up for our desires or our limits, our partner might have not like a negative reaction to it, but might not have the same reaction that we feel about it, and they're allowed to.
Mhm.
And that's not our responsibility to fix for them.
And I guess when we talk about some of those emotions that come up, I think maybe jealousy is probably one of the bigger ones that might come up for people, especially when they're maybe even starting off in an open relationship, or maybe that just even continues on throughout. How do you navigate that? And what do you recommend for people with that kind of jealousy aspect?
I think there's like two parts to it. And the first one being that we're really like raised in a society where women are viewed as property, and there's a sense of ownership that comes up, which is a little bit different than jealousy, right? Oh, I would never let my wife do that, or I would never allow her to have an experience like that. Eh, there's a lot of deprogramming and unlearning that needs to go into changing that mindset, I think, first of all, before even being in the lifestyle, because that's just going to lead to a lot of disappointment on both sides of the relationship. And then if you've healed that part, or you know that neither of us own each other, and jealousy does come up, I like to just sit with it and get curious. My husband and I started playing alone this year for the first time. We've never really explored that before. And with that comes new emotions and noticings. And yeah, jealousy certainly has been present for both of us at times. And usually it's shining light on something that's lacking. Maybe he planned like this really special date with somebody, and lots of anticipation and effort and communication went into building up the desire for it. And I'm like, yo, you haven't done that for me in a while. It's not really about him doing it with them. It's that I'm noticing a lack now, right? So getting curious with that and tending to it and communicating it too. Like it's okay in a non-monogamous relationship to say, I'm noticing like some jealousy or envy coming up. Ooh, and it doesn't feel great in my body, and I don't know what to do about it. And you guys can talk about it. And that's okay. Like that's signs of a healthy relationship when you can hold space for each other in that.
and be able to communicate that. When you were talking about that, my ex and I were pretty much the same way. At one point, we also did a little bit of separate playtime as well. And he had this one person, and he would go away and he would message her and be like, I miss you, and all this stuff. And I'd just be like,
What
I would
about
get
me?
jealous and I would get
Yes.
mad because I'd find out. And then I would say, well, you don't do that for me. That's not.
Right. Yeah. And like, yeah, sometimes it's a scarcity mindset, which I mean, depending on how you were socialized and treated by your caregivers when you were younger, like a lot of that shit's going to come up too. Yes, I think ensuring that there's lots of security in your relationship helps with that. There's one guy I play with, he's a great lover, he has an amazing dick, and my husband's like, "Are you gonna leave me for his penis?" And I'm like, "Fuck no." No, you're my person. I love you so much, and there's nobody else in the world that I'd want to do life with. Yeah, like reassurance sometimes. Like we all are just like fragile little humans, and it's normal to have these insecurities come up.
What's the difference between like ethical non-monogamy versus, I guess, non-ethical? And what does that mean to people? Because I know people hear of Ashley Madison and then everyone's like, oh my God, everyone who's in this community must be like non-ethical. So do you mind shedding a little bit of light on kind of the ethical versus non-ethical?
Yeah, the ethical non-monogamy is a term that a lot of sex educators dislike. Simply because if you're doing non-monogamy, like you're practicing it in an ethical way in for you, right? Does that mean everybody involved is? Maybe, who knows? Usually, like consensual non-monogamy, open relationship are typically the terms. And there's no right or wrong way to practice as long as nobody's violating somebody's consent. That's my opinion, though. Others might differ on it.
Oh, I love it. I think it's just a lack of communication, right? When couples are like, okay, we're in an open relationship, and then the lack of communication of saying, oh, hey, I'm gonna go play with this person and not tell you. Or,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And for some couples, that works for them. So it's okay. It's still ethical and it works
yeah,
for them.
right.
For some couples, fuck no, right? Like we have things that work and are in place in our relationship to hold that container. I have no desire to play solo with somebody if I haven't played with them with my husband first, because that helps me feel safe enough in my body. And I
Right.
communicate that to them. I'm like, yeah, so this is what I need to feel safe is have like a play experience with us two first. And if you're feeling safe enough in your body, typically that means you have access to more pleasure and arousal and desire.
No, that's great. And then let's go into your sex coaching. So, what do you offer people for the somatic sex coaching?
Yeah. Okay. Somatic sex coaching. Wow. Okay. Shifting gears here. Ooh. So,
To shift gears a
somatic,
little bit.
I like to shake when I'm shifting gears, which is embodiment, right?
Hmm.
Somatics is about bringing it back into the body. So, it's a type of therapeutic modality that's different from talk therapy. Whereas talk therapy is a top-down approach. So, very much in the brain and like recognizing the past and patterns and educating yourself on what might need to happen to change that for yourself and the experience you're having currently in life. Somatics, SSE, is the bottom up approach. So it's just noticing your body and how it's showing up in the moment without needing to be attached to stories in the past and everything that's happened to you. The three like pillars of it that I bring into my work big time is embodiment, obviously.
Hmm.
Are you noticing sensations in your body, what your body's telling you? The window of capacity, the window of tolerance. You know, are you operating in a stress response all day? Because if you are, girl, you're never going to have a fucking orgasm, right? We need to build capacity for ourselves and our nervous system. And then the third is empowered choice and voice. So, are you noticing the things you want to experience? Are you noticing your limits? Are you trusting and valuing these enough to communicate them to other people? And essentially, this is a practice space for you to be embodied in your erotic self. And sometimes that involves touch. Somatics is movement, sound, breath, touch, right? And touch is one that's a little bit iffy because sometimes it's hands on and sometimes it's hands in to practice being in your body and using pleasure as a healing modality.
That's great. And then your clients, are they mostly women? Are they men? Are they couples?
Yeah, mostly women. Women who have typically some sort of sexual trauma or emotional trauma, physical trauma in the past. And that's really impacting them connecting with their full erotic embodied self. Usually there's some sort of concern like, I don't ever want sex. I haven't had an orgasm with a partner before. Yeah. Sometimes like childbirth, right? Like that's a pretty big trauma that a lot of people go through. And sometimes there's scarring and numbness after. So helping them reconnect with their body and notice ways that they can reconnect with their pleasure after having a child and birthing a child. Sometimes couples will come and see me too. Uh, and not very often do I work with men. They're a lot of work. Yeah.
But I think that's perfect because just the way that I know with your energy and the way that you are and the way that you even approach social media when you come on, you are just that safe and such a loving person
Oh,
anyway that I feel like so many women they could probably just be open up to you and you do create that safe environment. Going back to the lifestyle community, you create such a safe and opening environment for everyone. We go into these group sessions or whatever, and it's just like you're so caring and loving. And I think, and this is why I reached out to you because I'm like, you're a perfect person to talk to about all these things, especially about sex and some quote unquote risque topics.
yeah. Yeah. Counter normative.
The
Yeah.
counter normative, that's right.
Yeah. Outside of the charmed circle of what's allowed in our society. Yeah. Thank you. That was nice to hear.
Oh, you're well, I think because sometimes we don't hear that, right? And
Yes.
and it's hard. So what else do you offer for people? Like, do you offer any group sessions? And obviously maybe not for the somatic side.
Yeah, actually. So I'm working on getting my facilitation certification with the Wheel of Consent, with the School of Consent, which has been many years and many a dollars of investment in the making. And so I have to do like practicum hours and host workshops and report back and do just report back to my mentors and stuff. So I do have one coming up May 2nd to 4th in Calgary, and we have space for 18 to 20 people. And couples are welcome, solos are welcome, and it's really just about the art of giving and receiving, negotiating desire, and being able to speak from an empowered and choice viewpoint. It's not sexually based. It's more just like it's pleasure based, but not like nudity or erotic touching or anything like that. It's, yeah, definitely more low risk for people whose nervous systems might not be ready for something more.
Hmm. And is that a full day event or
It's
two full day event?
2.5 days. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's May 2nd is a Friday. It starts in the evening. It's just container setting. And then the next day is a full day. Saturday and Sunday is also a full day.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. And I'm doing it with my mentor in this work, who I so look up to. Corrine Diachuk is her name, and she's based in Victoria. And she's one of the founders and partners of the institute that I graduated from. She's just an amazing resource to have available to people if they choose to enroll and attend.
And where can people find out more information about this event?
It's on my website already. There's a link to the landing page that she created for it. So yeah, sexedforthemodernbed.com. And if you go to like workshops, you can find it.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, I think so
Yeah.
many people will have such a blast with you because, again, like I said, they'll be able to feel your love and the safety that you provide. But I think you are so smart and intelligent with all this stuff that I feel like people will learn so much from you. So that sounds like a great event in May.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I will add those links to the show notes. So you will,
Amazing.
everything gets added to the show notes.
Yay. Yeah, I love bringing groups together to learn in workshops. So I did one women's circle in April last year. That was the last one that I did. And that was fun. That was like with 10 women, and that was exploring our pleasure. My mother-in-law was my assistant for it. So she actually got to witness me and my work for the first time. I think she was kind of like, whoa. But she did a great job at helping me out and making lunch for everyone and tea and coffee. So that was really fun. And then usually I'll get brought in for doing workshops at lifestyle hotel takeovers, events, things like that. That's always a good time.
Yeah. And I know you used to do a lot of hotel takeover or be involved in some of the hotel takeovers. Is there anything going on this year that people need to be aware about?
Hmm. Not as many this year so far. I don't know if you know Swinger Open Poly with Ying Ying, based out of Vancouver.
No.
So she does usually a spring and a fall one. The fall one's typically in Whistler. And the spring one, she's always struggled finding a place. And so I kind of helped her because I did some research with Banff hotels before COVID. And so, yeah, it's in Banff in April. Yeah, April 24th to 27th. So it's 3 nights.
Is
So
that
I'll be,
also on your website?
it is not, it's already sold out.
Oh.
It sold out a long time ago. She has a really great community. I really love her ability to hold a container too, especially with so many people. I'm sure you know, like these hotel takeovers can be extremely crazy. Sometimes a big party atmosphere, and she does a good job at kind of meshing party with fun, with sexiness, with education. This will be my third event with her teaching.
Oh, that's so incredible.
Yeah. Other
So if
than
we
that,
miss out on this one, what's the next one that we can
I don't have a next one
we
lined
don't have
up
a next one?
yet, but I know she does quite a few. Like she'll have a block on the Virgin cruises, and she really likes the Virgin cruises. They do like Costa Rica. They do a lot of different stuff. She's always traveling, planning amazing things. So yeah, it's swingeropenpoly.com, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll add that to the links as well. So
Yeah.
people who are open and want to try something different for maybe a trip can join there as well.
Yeah.
What
And
else?
then we do our monthly
Yes.
social
Oh, yeah.
too.
And that's what I was going to ask is you're about your monthly events. You do the monthly events. So
Yeah.
if you want to talk a little bit about that.
When did we start that? So I think we started them originally like 2016, 2017. Like I said, just a few people showing up at the beginning. And then during COVID, we took a 3 year break. And people kept saying, when are you doing the socials again? When are you doing the socials again? Please do another social. And so last November, we relaunched and we've been doing, yeah, one a month pretty much since then. And we always just, the intention of it is to have like a space and a container where people can just connect and meet and mingle without as much pressure as a normal place like a hotel takeover or a club might feel. For somebody who's neurodivergent, maybe overstimulated easily, like it can be a lot. And yeah, it's a nice way to just kind of ease your way in or have like a more low-key evening. We always do a Thursday because we don't want people getting too drunky pants, which still happens, which I'm okay with. And yeah, there's nowhere. to have sex. It's usually in a more public venue. And so if people really are feeling frisky, they have to ask each other, like, hey, do you want to come home with us? Do you want to do this? Or exchange phone numbers or whatever. And so, yeah, it's just a different alternative to meeting like queer, open, fringe, out of the charm circle, counter-normative folks.
And it's not just couples then. So it's open to anyone?
Yep, singles, any gender. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the places, like as much as I love the lifestyle swinger community, I don't personally identify as that. And I feel like sometimes there's a lot of barriers too of are you white? Do you make a lot of money? Is she bisexual? Is he heterosexual? Like it's almost like you have to fit a box sometimes to fit into a box that's outside of the box. And that just it doesn't feel great. And so, yeah, I really like to make sure that everybody feels welcomed and there's a space for them if that's their jam.
Hmm. No, I love it because I know like even just trying to be members of different clubs, it's hard because each club has their own website and you have to pay a fee and all that. And if you want to be members of more than one club, it can get pretty pricey.
Yeah,
But even
even
the
like
entry fees, right?
travel, right? Like to go to hedonism for a week for a Canadian couple is probably like 10, 11, $12,000.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Especially with our exchange rate. She's not doing too hot right now.
no, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like the Banff one, I think it's around like 1,500 for 3 nights and a ticket. Banff's
Hmm.
expensive to begin with, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, sometimes there's barriers of entry and like sometimes you look around and you're like, I don't look like these people or I don't identify as these people. Like my husband's been really exploring his bi side and that's been interesting too of is it scaring off other people? Are people turned off by that? There was somebody talking to him about he was at Desire and he saw these two guys like playing with each other and giving head to each other. And he was so disgusted. And he told my husband that. And my husband's like, oh, okay, noted. Right? Like, as much as people think that they're open minded and like minded, they aren't.
no, and but I think also it just for them, if it's uncomfortable, it's so hard because when it comes to this kind of stuff, some people are open to some things and then other people not so much.
I usually just say, don't yuck somebody's yum. And if somebody said that, like, he's like, I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, say, oh, that's kind of a rude thing to say out loud. Like, what makes you say that? What makes you think you should say that to me? You can have your own opinions and thoughts and maybe discuss that with your partner, but be mindful of the things that you're saying because it could hurt somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's integrity, it's compassion.
You never know who's exploring what.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And so yucking. Yeah. Don't yuck somebody's yum.
I love that. I love that saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about, really. Is there anything you would like to tell people about, like sex coaching or about the lifestyle?
I don't know. I we covered a lot in a quite short amount of time. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think just like reiterating the check-ins and how and the importance of them, even if you're not non-monogamous, like they're so helpful. And I'm trying to think of how to word this in my head. Mm. Yeah, getting pretty clear about like your why as to why you might explore non-monogamy and noticing like where there might be some things that might not explode, but be revealed a little more deeply. And, when I first entered the lifestyle, I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And oftentimes I was enduring a lot of the experiences and not really noticing or recognizing that, but not feeling great about some of the experiences that I had because I wasn't really using my empowered choice and voice. Oftentimes I was just in a giving mentality. So, giving access to my body or giving in a sense that I was doing something to somebody that they wanted. And very seldomly was I receiving for my pleasure. So when I took that kind of step back during COVID and started my own experience of getting inside my body, I had a lot of grief of remembering all these times that I just gave access and tolerated and endured. And yeah, it was quite painful for a few years. And then I started to work on my empowered choice and voice. And it starts small and it's neuroplasticity. This is the work that I do with a lot of my clients. And over time, I felt so much more connected to myself and my pleasure and reclaiming my pleasure so that when we finally decided we were ready to open up our relationship post COVID, I've had some of the most incredibly sexy experiences ever because I'm receiving for me now. Of course, like there's some giving aspect to it, but holy hell, like I had never had experiences like this prior to 2020. And now they're like so hot and juicy. And I feel so good about the choices that I'm making and the things that I'm doing for myself. The lifestyle, it's kind of a party atmosphere. A lot of people drink and do drugs to cover up the fact that they're not feeling great about some of the choices that they're making. Maybe there's some healing that still needs to happen, and this is just a way to numb it out. And I was one of those people for a long time, and I can like confidently say, like, I could have a totally sober experience, like not even have a glass of wine, and it would still be so fucking hot. And I have not done drugs in a long, long time, many, many years now. And I feel like so much more embodied in my pleasure, and reclaiming my pleasure has been a huge catalyst for that. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't do all of this work of moving myself through everything I learned in school in order to hold that space and help others do the same.
I think that's amazing, Tara. And to have that self-awareness too, and then be able to bring that into just yourself, but then into like all the education that you've received and that you've been doing, and then now being able to spread that awareness because you're kind of sharing firsthand experience, but also knowing that others are going to have a little bit of a different experience as well. But having that connection too of saying, like, I've been through this as well. So
Mhm.
I can't necessarily, what are the words? Is it empathize? Maybe with
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. Hold space for
hold
it. And
space for them.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's hard. It can be a lot of work. Like it took me years. And I think a lot of times people come to see me because it's the last resort. They've been doing therapy for years. They might have been to a pelvic floor therapist for years. And they're like, it still isn't working. And they're like hoping that in a session or two, they're going to be fixed. And I'm like, no, like it took me years to go through it. And I do this almost every day. There's some form of this work coming up in my life. So it can take a long time too, which sometimes people don't want to hear. We
Sometimes, things take time. We don't have that easy fix, right? And fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people think it's not like a weight loss pill where you're just going to lose the weight right away or that kind of stuff. It does take work and it can take a while, especially with our bodies and responding.
Mhm. Yeah, like think about it from like when we first got in the lifestyle, right? Like 2004, I want to say, 2013, probably more, till 2019. I was enduring like not every time, obviously,
Mhm.
but operating from a place of not feeling safe enough in my body, not practicing empowered choice and voice. That's a long time, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 6 years that I did that. So that's 6 years of creating these neural grooves in my body. So, in order to change that, like first I have to notice that and then
Yeah.
be very mindful in unlearning that and then create new neural grooves on top of that. Like it takes a while. It's the
Mhm.
same with therapy. If you've been operating in a stress response for like 20 years of your life, it's not going to take like 10 sessions to not
Yeah.
operate anymore. It's going to take a few years,
Yeah.
likely. Hmm.
Oh, this is
Mm.
great. Thank you for sharing all about yourself and your stories and your experiences as a somatic sex coach, as well as in being in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I love the
Thank
fact that
you.
you are creating safe and open spaces for people so that they can learn not just about themselves, but about maybe their partnerships or their relationships, and also meeting new people in some of
Hmm.
these containers. And I love it.
Mm.
And I
Thank
think,
you.
we go from, somatic sex coaching to the lifestyle, but everything just interweaves together too.
It is. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, our ability to claim our pleasure erotically is also linked to our ability to claim pleasure with everything we do, from our career to making money to enjoying a yummy meal. Like, receiving actual pleasure for yourself doesn't just come in the bedroom.
That's a good one. I love it.
Boom, mic
Mind
drop.
blown. Mic drop. We're done.
Oh, yeah, and thanks for having me on today. This was really fun. I actually miss podcasting. I haven't done it in a while, so
Oh, I'm glad.
maybe
Well,
I need to get back into it.
ooh, that's exciting. Sex uninterrupted might come back.
It might
Update
resurrected.
the
There's a
update
lot of
the
juicy stories to be told.
update the episodes.
Oh shit.
So thank you for coming. I really appreciate you. And where can people find you?
So right now my website's sexedforthemodernbed.com. And my Instagram is sexed for the modern bed. And those are probably the two places to find me. On my website, if you're interested in working with me, there's an intake waiver. I ask that you complete that. And then usually I'll reach out to book a discovery call with interested folks and go from there.
Perfect. And those links will be in the show notes, so you can click on those links and connect with Tara. So thanks, Tara, for coming. It was so good to see you. And yeah, stay connected, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope today's conversation sparked something new and reminded you of the power of connection. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with others, and continue spreading the message of unity across all walks of life. Until next time, stay connected.